No pressure. Thank you, Drew. Yes, my name is Christopher Moncayo-Torres. I am from Queens. Brr, 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 brr. Now in Queens, there is a restaurant called El Jardín de China that is in Corona, in Jackson Heights, around that area. It's a place that me and my family like to go to. Now, the restaurant has half like Szechuan cuisine and has like half like Latin cuisine and whatever that might mean. And so the waiters there essentially are all Chinese native folks who speak way better Spanish than I do. So when they're coming up to me at the table and I'm sitting with my father and they're asking, ¿qué quieres comer? Like, what do you want to eat? And I'm waiting for my father, and he's doing his favorite thing that he likes to do, which is math. And so my dad is doing math on a placemat, paper placemat, always carries a pencil, writing down. He's doing division, math, subtraction. And I'm like, we're going to need some more time. They walk away. And my dad finally pulls up the paper mat, like if he was a kid showing me like a coloring drawing. He's so proud and excited. He's like, I need this much. And I look, and essentially what he's telling me is how much money he needs from me. Now, my father, all you need to know right now is I met him later in my life. And when I met him, he's kind of like on his, my dad likes to set up franchises everywhere he goes. So he's like, I'm third family, just to give an idea. So like everywhere he goes, he's kind of figuring it out. And he's like a con man of con men, and he buys things, sell things, messy man. So I judge him a lot, especially at that point, I judged him a lot. I'm like, man, I'm sitting across from this table, I'm like, I hope I never end up like you, man. Like having to ask your son for money, like I remember judging him a lot in that moment. But because I met him later in my life, I was always scared to say no to him. If I say no to dad again, he might leave. And I had that like Arrested Development kind of thing. So I'm like, okay, puppy, like I take it's a huge piece of paper. And I'm just like looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I've lent you money before. He's like, no, you see, he speaks Spanish. He's like, sí, me puedo prestar plata, pero like, it's gonna be different this time. I'm like, okay, but like I need you to pay me on time this time. Like he always pays me back. He always pays me back, but it's just always a little late. He's just like, well, I need this money, and he gives me just sort of like, I need to buy this merchandise, and I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be a big deal. It's gonna be a big deal. And I'm like, okay, but the thing is that I have a trip coming up. Now I'm going on my first adult trip with my girlfriend at the time, and we're going to Boston. It was like a big deal. Like we're going to like Cheers, and we're gonna do the Freedom Trail. I can't even remember the rest of what that trip was gonna be, but I remember she was very excited. And I do have some machismo in me. So I told her, because she works 9 to 5 and she's very good at paying for everything, and I have like my little part-time job at like as a teller. I was like, hey, you know what? I've saved up some money. I'm gonna pay for it. Like I'm gonna like pay for like a lot of this trip. Can I do that? She's like, great, I got you. It's like, great, I love that. And so I told my dad, like, I'm gonna give you this money, but I need it because I'm going on this trip. And can you give it to me by that? No te preocupes, don't worry about it, I got you. And I was like, listen, I wanna do something different. I wanna give my dad the benefit of the doubt. I'm the youngest of 5. A lot of my siblings don't talk to my dad. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll help you out. I'm at my job. I'm at the bank that I work at. To give you an idea of what bank I work at, let's just say I wore a lot of blue. You could crack that code if you like. Sounds like you did. And I'm looking at my phone, and it's just full of just missed calls. I have called my father. I'm texting him. I don't hear from him. I'm getting worried. My boss is walking around. So my manager, she has this hijab, and she tucks her cell phone into her hijab, and she's always talking to her husband. This is a bank in Queens that is very quiet. It's very like, it's all far east into Queens. I don't want to give you too many details. But essentially, she just was very lackadaisy. And so I could be on my phone, and she's talking to her husband. And I finally get a message from my father on WhatsApp. That's how we communicate. And he just gives me, like he does, a story. He's just like, listen, the money didn't come in on time, but I am going to pay you on this day. You never give me money. You never give me money. You just borrow it. You lend me money. I always pay you back. Okay, don't worry. I'm going to pay you back. And I'm freaking out. And I'm like, crap. Like, I'm going to look so bad right now to my girlfriend because I don't have this money. And so I'm trying to think of, like, what am I going to do? I don't want to look like my dad and not show up for somebody and not be like, I promised you this. Christopher, are you balanced? And so I look through the big plated, you've seen banks, a big plastic glass, and my manager is on the other side. She says this every time, right around closing time. Hey, are you balanced? What that means is that in your box, did you count all the money and did you go over, did you go under? You have to process all of it. Each teller gets its own little box. And I thought about how the cameras haven't been working in this place for a while. Ooh, we're all in it together. She always asks, and she never checks. She just asks you, are you balanced? And we usually all say yes, because she likes to go home as soon as she can, as do we all. So I say, yes. And then I grab $400 and I tuck it into my pocket. And then she says, great, I'll be right there. Now, I remember as she was going through the door, putting in her code to go through the door, I kept thinking, like, how can I run out of here? Because she's going to catch me. I remember even before I thought of that, I was just like, hey, why do you, how can I not be so suspicious? Why do you need to check? And she's like, don't worry, I'm going to get you out of here. I know you need to go on your trip on time. It's just protocol. Anytime we have an employee, I just have to fill out this form, and I need to send it out to corporate, and we'll just count everything, and it'll be super quick. Don't worry about it. I'm very worried. And so she just starts taking out the money, and as she's counting, I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is that time where, like, I'll finally run away to Ecuador. That's how I learned Spanish. I'll just live in Ecuador. I have a tia Carlota. She loves me. She'll take care of me. And I'll be immersed, and I'll just live there because I'm going to run away from this place, because if they catch me, I'm not just going to, like, get fired. I'm going to get arrested. And I'm thinking, I'm already not the best employee, as you could tell. I'm late all the time. I lose a nickel and a dime here, but I've never lost this much money. And so, of course, as you can imagine, she's like, Christopher, you're $400 short. How did that happen? Let's count it again. And she's like, okay. Usually happens. Sometimes people are a little over, never over that much. Other tellers come by. Then they can't find it. I start pretending like if I was a little kid again, and if I broke something and my mother came up to me and she could easily see that I broke the vase, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how this happened, like, let's figure it out. And I'm like looking for money behind drawers. I know there's no money behind the drawers. It's in my pocket. And then the personal bankers come by. They count it. Everyone's looking at me now, and everyone's wondering, like, Christopher, where's the money? And I'm turning around like, yeah, where's the money? Like. And I just keep saying, just don't admit it, deny. And they're like, we're gonna have to call corporate. So my boss goes into her office. She's got a big glass window, never forget, big glass window, we can always easily see her. And so she has her phone like tucked into her job. And she's just sort of like walking a little bit left and like looking at me. And I'm like, what's the decision? Like, what does that look? And she's just like, she probably didn't shake her head, but I felt like she shook her head. Like, she's the mom, and I just felt like, no, don't judge me. And then finally, I kept thinking, I was like, maybe I can run to New Jersey. Maybe that's what I'll do. I can run as fast as to New Jersey. I keep thinking of my escape plan. Like, what am I going to do? She waves me over. I go in, and she's like, take a seat. And I'm like, where are the exits? I'm like, okay, the door is behind me. And I'm like, okay, fine. I sit down, and she prints out paper from a printer, takes it out, slides it across. She's like, I need you to look over this and please sign it. And I look at it, I'm like, well, what is this? What am I reading? And she's just like, essentially, you're on probation. And I was like, I don't know what that means. Like, I think probation, I'm like, already? Like, how did that happen so fast? I must have blacked out. She's like, essentially, at this bank, if you usually get 3 strikes, you've gone through all your strikes. If you lose a penny, if you're a second late, you're fired. You have no more cushion. Great. Sign it. I'm like, great. Is there anything else? Is there anything? Can I go now? And she just kind of looks at me like, yeah, you can go. And I was just like, okay, I'll get you something from Boston. And I'm like, ready to go. And she's like, Christopher. And I stop, and I'm at the doorway. And I turn around, and I look at her. She says, I hope you have a nice trip. And like, I felt that, something about that, I felt it in my chest, like it went through me, like, and it just was like, I know what you did. And I felt like I was looking at my own mom. I was like, no, it was incidental. It wasn't on purpose. It's just, I'll explain it later when I get back. I'm having a conversation in my head with her through telepathy. So I run, go to Chinatown, get on one of those buses to go to Boston. And my girlfriend is like super excited. She's going down the itinerary, like, oh my God, we're gonna go to Cheers, this is really cool, then we're gonna do this. That's what she was saying. All I heard was wah, 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 because I was in so much like, oh my God, I just robbed the bank, I think, technically. I didn't mean to. My plan originally was to be like, I will borrow this money, and then when my dad pays me back, I will tuck it back into the box, and no one will be the wiser. And then as I said that out loud to myself, I was like, I sound like my dad. And that didn't feel good. And I felt bad for my girlfriend because she could see in my body that like, hey, you're not really here. And I was like, I am so sorry. And I kept throughout the trip trying to be there. And my body reacts. And I got so stressed. The nerves got into me so bad that I got the runs really bad. I had like a bad case of diarrhea. And I kept thinking, like the good Catholic that I am, I deserve this. This is because I did a bad thing. My girlfriend at one point, that trip was doomed. It was doomed. We went into a bathtub. I paid extra for a tub. I'd never been in a jacuzzi before. Put candles all around it. She like was in it. I was kissing her. We were leaning in, and her hair got set on fire through the candles. And I immediately like dunked her head right into the water because I didn't know what else to do. And then I mean, I could have imagined what she saw. She just saw like, hey, oh my God, and me attacking her. And so that trip was just awful. And I remember thinking like, I think like that I kind of understood my father more. I had so much more empathy for my dad. I was just like, man, maybe this is what it's like for him. It's just all kind of incidental. He's not a bad guy. Like just stuff happens. And so I kind of realized that, oh yeah, I guess I am an incidental bank robber. Thank you.